Lucas opened his eyes, and for a moment the world felt unfamiliar. His head throbbed, his body weak, and yet, his mind sharper than ever. He wasn't the same man anymore. Sitting across from him, Olivia's wife looked cold, distant, and tired of him. She placed a stack of papers on the table and said with no hesitation, "Sign these, Lucas. I want a divorce." The old Lucas would have begged, would have cried, pleaded, clung to her. But this Lucas? He simply looked at her, a faint smile touching his lips. "All right, I'll sign." Olivia froze. Her eyes widened, anger flashing across her face. "What did you say? You'll sign just like that?" Lucas leaned back, his voice calm, steady, almost chilling. "Yes. If that's what you want, then so be it." For the first time in years, Olivia didn't know how to respond. She expected desperation. She expected tears. Instead, she saw a man who wasn't afraid of losing her, and that terrified her. But before she could speak again, another voice entered the room. Smooth, arrogant, mocking, Ethan Foster, Olivia's so-called friend, the man who had been lurking in the shadows of their marriage. He smirked at Lucas. "Finally, you've realized your place. Olivia deserves better. Someone like me." Lucas turned his head slowly. His gaze was sharp, cutting through Ethan's. Fake confidence. But he said nothing. Not yet. Olivia placed a hand on Ethan's arm, trying to show Lucas she'd already moved on. "See, Lucas? You've been nothing but a burden. Ethan is everything you're not." For a moment, silence filled the air. Then Lucas chuckled. Soft at first, then louder. His laughter unsettled them both. He wasn't laughing because he found it funny. He was laughing because he knew something they didn't. "You'll regret this, Olivia," he said quietly, almost like a whisper carried. By the wind, she flinched. Ethan frowned. But Lucas stood, picked up the divorce papers, and signed his name with ease. The deal was done, and just like that, Olivia thought she had one. But what she didn't know was that Lucas had been given a second chance at life, and this time, he wasn't going to waste it. Later that night, Lucas left the house with nothing but a small bag. Olivia watched him from the window, smirking. To her, this was victory. To Lucas, it was freedom. He walked under the dim streetlights, his thoughts heavy but clear. The old Lucas had been weak, blinded by love, destroyed by betrayal. But the new Lucas carried memories, wisdom, and the burning will to rise. $8 million in alimony, he murmured to himself. She thinks that's the price of my life. No, that's just the beginning. His voice was low, almost like a vow. For the first time, he wasn't broken. He wasn't defeated. He was reborn. And while Olivia celebrated her so-called freedom, Lucas began planning his comeback. Because this time, the story wouldn't end with her victory. This time, it would end with her downfall. But Lucas had no idea that the very next person he would meet would change his life even more than his rebirth itself. The night was cold, but Lucas didn't feel it. Every step he took away from Olivia's house felt lighter. For the first time in years, he wasn't chained to her shadow. But freedom was strange. It felt empty. Where would he go? Who could he trust? As he turned the corner, a gentle voice broke his thoughts. "Excuse me? Are you all right?" Lucas looked up. Standing under a flickering streetlight was a woman with soft eyes, holding a grocery bag. She wasn't dressed fancy, nothing like Olivia. But her presence carried warmth. Her name was Ashley. Lucas forced a faint smile. "I'm fine. Just passing through." Ashley studied him for a moment. His clothes were wrinkled, his eyes tired, and his bag nearly empty. He looked like a man who had lost everything. But there was something in his gaze, something sharp, determined that made her pause. "You don't look fine," she said gently. "Come inside for some tea. It's cold out here." Lucas hesitated. The old him would have refused, too proud to accept help. But tonight, he simply nodded. "Thank you." Ashley's small apartment was simple but warm. The faint smell of chamomile filled the air. She poured him tea and sat across from him, curious but respectful. "Rough night?" she asked. Lucas sipped the tea, his lips curling into a small smile. "You could say that." She didn't press. She didn't judge. She just listened, and for the first time Lucas felt a strange comfort. Hours passed. They talked about small things, books, dreams, even laughter slipped in between. It was nothing like Olivia's constant criticism. Ashley's presence was light, almost healing, but deep inside, Lucas didn't forget his vow. This kindness was a small light, but his path was still filled with shadows. Meanwhile, across town, Olivia sat in her luxurious home, swirling a glass of wine. Ethan leaned back on the couch beside her, his arm casually draped around her shoulders. "You really let him go that easily?" Ethan asked with a smirk. Olivia scoffed. Lucas was pathetic. He signed without a fight. "I thought he'd cry, but he didn't. It almost annoyed me." Ethan chuckled. "Good, now it's just you and me. Together, we'll take everything." But Olivia's mind wasn't calm. Lucas's last words echoed in her ears. "You'll regret this." She shook her head, trying to dismiss it. "He's nothing. He has nothing." But deep down, a seed of unease had been planted. Back at Ashley's place, Lucas finally stood. "Thank you for tonight. I should get going." Ashley smiled softly. "If you ever need a place to rest, my door's open." Lucas nodded, his eyes meeting hers for a moment longer than expected. Then he left, stepping back into the night. But as he walked, his mind wasn't on Olivia anymore. It was on the future. On the empire he would build, on the revenge he would take. "Olivia thinks she buried me," he whispered to himself. "But I'm not dead. I'm just getting started." His footsteps echoed in the empty street, steady, confident, stoppable. And somewhere deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning, because the next time Lucas and Olivia met, she wouldn't be the one in control days turned into weeks. Lucas worked quietly, planning in silence. While Olivia flaunted her new life with Ethan, Lucas disappeared from her world completely. But he wasn't hiding. He was building. Every morning, he studied. Business, investments, technology, everything. Olivia once mocked him for, he devoured like fire. Every night, he worked jobs that kept food on the table, while pouring his savings into something bigger. Ashley noticed. "You don't rest much, do you?" she asked one evening, as Lucas sat hunched over a laptop at her dining table. Lucas smirked. "Without looking up, rest is for men who already have what they want." Ashley tilted her head. "And what do you want?" He paused. His eyes darkened, steady. "Power. Enough power to make the people who betrayed me kneel." Ashley's heart sank at his tone. But she didn't try to stop him. Instead, she placed a cup of coffee by his side. "And don't forget to eat while you chase it." Lucas glanced at her, almost surprised. No judgment. No lecture. Just quiet support. It was strange. Refreshing. Meanwhile, Olivia's world glittered brighter than ever. She walked through luxury boutiques with Ethan by her side, showered in attention. Expensive clothes and the envy of friends, but cracks began to show. At dinners, Ethan's eyes wandered to other women. At meetings, he spoke over her, dismissing her ideas. And slowly, Olivia realized Ethan wasn't her equal. He wasn't Lucas either. One night, as they sat in a restaurant, Ethan scrolled on his phone. "Are you even paying attention?" she snapped. He smirked. "Relax, babe. Not everything has to be about you." Her chest tightened. For the first time, she missed the quiet way Lucas always listened, always cared. But pride swallowed the thought before it could grow. Back in his small rented room, Lucas stared at numbers glowing on his laptop screen. Stocks, startups, market shifts. Patterns others ignored. He saw them clearly, and slowly the money came. First in hundreds, then thousands, and more. He wasn't rich yet, but he was climbing. Step by step, brick by brick. And every step forward was fuel for his fire. One rainy evening, Ashley found Lucas standing on the balcony, staring at the city. "Lights, you've changed," she said quietly. Lucas didn't turn. Change is survival. Ashley stepped closer. No, it's more than that. You used to look like a man broken. Now you look like a man waiting for his moment. Lucas finally faced her, his expression unreadable. My moment will come. And when it does, Olivia will wish she'll never let me go. Ashley's eyes softened with worry. And when it's all over, what then? For a second, Lucas hesitated. What then? But the thought of revenge burned too brightly to answer, so he said nothing. Across town, Olivia sat in her penthouse, staring at old photos on her phone. Lucas's smile, his steady eyes, the quiet way he held her hand when the world was too heavy. She had traded him for excitement. But excitement was shallow. It didn't protect her at night when doubts crept in. And for the first time, she wondered, had she made a mistake? She quickly shook the thought away, pouring another glass of wine. No, she whispered to herself. I chose better. I chose Ethan. But deep inside, her heart didn't believe it. Lucas's rise was only beginning, and Olivia had no idea the storm heading her way, because the next time she heard his name, it wouldn't be as her ex-husband. It would be as the man everyone else feared to cross. Months passed. The man Olivia once called useless was no longer scraping for survival. Lucas was building an empire from the shadows. His investments grew like wildfire. Small wins turned into big victories. And big victories attracted bigger opportunities, but Lucas stayed quiet. No bragging, no posting, no desperate need for validation. The world would only hear his name when he decided it was time. One evening, Ashley walked into the living room, surprised to see Lucas sitting on the floor, surrounded by papers, charts, and notebooks. What is all this? She asked, tilting her head. Lucas didn't look up. Control. Ashley frowned. You sound obsessed. Lucas finally raised his eyes, sharp, focused. Obsession is just what weak people call determination. Ashley held his gaze. What if it consumes you? Lucas's lips curved slightly. Then I'll be consumed on top, not at the bottom. Meanwhile, Olivia's life with Ethan began to crack deeper. Luxury surrounded her, yes, but warmth, respect, was missing. Ethan's charm faded, replaced by arrogance. He drank too much, laughed too loud, and treated her like a trophy he had already won. At parties, women whispered about him. Some even sent messages Olivia wasn't meant to see, and though she ignored them at first, doubt began eating her alive. One night, when Ethan came home late smelling of perfume, Olivia confronted him. Where were you? She demanded. Ethan smirked. Relax, you're overthinking. But deep down, she knew. For the first time in years, Olivia found herself staring at her reflection in the mirror, wishing Lucas's steady arms were still around her. On the other side of the city, Lucas attended his first real investors' dinner. Men in suits, women in pearls. Power filling the air. He walked in quietly, unassuming. But when he spoke clear, confident, precise, people listened. Ashley watched from a distance, a proud smile tugging at her lips. This wasn't the broken man she had met months ago. This was someone new. Someone dangerous. Later that night as they drove home, Ashley turned to him. You belong in that world now. Lucas shook his head. Not yet. I'll belong when there. Begging me to lead them. Ashley's breath caught. His words weren't arrogance. They were prophecy. Weeks later, Olivia sat in a cafe with an old friend. The conversation turned sour when her friend casually mentioned a name. You know Lucas, right? Heard he's making waves in the business world? Some say he's untouchable now. Olivia's hand froze midair, coffee cup trembling. Lucas? You mean my Lucas? Her friend raised a brow. Your ex, yes. People say he's a rising star. Ruthless, brilliant, the kind of man no one can afford to ignore. Olivia forced a laugh, brushing it off, but her chest tightened. Lucas, the man she had thrown away like nothing. He was back, stronger than ever. That night, she couldn't sleep. Every memory of him replayed like a haunting film. The way he looked at her with devotion, the way he sacrificed without hesitation, the way she betrayed him for a mirage. Tears burned her eyes. But it was too late. Across town, Lucas stood in front of a mirror, adjusting his tie before another meeting. His reflection stared back at him sharper, harder, untouchable. For the first time, he whispered to himself, "I'm ready," and the world had no idea what kind of storm was about to be unleashed. The city had started whispering his name. Lucas wasn't just doing well, he was becoming a phenomenon. Investors respected him, competitors feared him, and those who once mocked him pretended they had never done so. But Lucas never forgot. Every insult, every humiliation, every betrayal. He carried them like fuel, and no fuel burns brighter than revenge. Ashley noticed the shift in him. First he was driven, now he was consumed. Late nights, endless calls, calculations scrawled across whiteboards until dawn. "Lucas, you're going to burn out," she warned softly one night. But Lucas didn't look away from his papers. People who are already ashes can't burn out. His words chilled her. Meanwhile, Olivia's world was collapsing in silence. She smiled at parties, posed for photos, wore diamonds. But behind closed doors, she cried, Ethan no longer hid his affairs. His cruelty grew sharper, his patience thinner, when Olivia dared to question. "Him," he snapped. "You wanted this life. You left him for me, so live with it." The words cut deeper than any blade, because they were true. She had chosen glitter over gold. Now the glitter was turning to dust. Fate, however, is cruel in its timing. At a charity gala, Olivia and Ethan walked in, only to see Lucas standing at the center of the room, confident, composed, dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, flanked by investors who hung on his every word. The moment Olivia's eyes met his, the air left her lungs. He didn't glance twice. He didn't falter to him. She was invisible. As the night went on, people gathered around Lucas, laughing, listening, admiring. Ethan's jaw tightened as he realized the attention was no longer on him. Olivia, meanwhile, couldn't take her eyes off Lucas. Every laugh, every confident step, every flicker of power radiating from him. It all reminded her of what she had destroyed. Later that evening, Lucas excused himself to the balcony. Ashley followed, her voice playful. "You enjoyed that, didn't you?" Lucas didn't smile. "I didn't even look at her." Ashley tilted her head, "But she looked at you the whole night." Lucas finally exhaled. "Good. Let her see what she threw away." That night, Olivia couldn't hold back anymore. She snuck away from Ethan's drunken laughter and found Lucas near the valet. Her voice trembled. "Lucas, can we talk?" Lucas turned slowly, his expression unreadable. "We don't have anything to talk about." Her eyes filled with tears. "Please, just 1 minute." Lucas's gaze hardened. "When I begged for 1 minute of your honesty, you gave me silence. Now you want my time." "No, Olivia, that door is closed." She broke down right there, whispering his name as he walked past her. But he didn't look back. Not once. The next morning, Olivia woke to Ethan yelling on the phone. Something about deals falling apart, investors pulling out, and then it hit her, the man she left behind. Now the man pulling the strings. And for the first time in her life, Olivia realized Lucas wasn't just winning. He was rewriting the entire game Ethan was unraveling. The empire he flaunted was built on borrowed time. And Lucas was cutting every rope, silent, strategic, precise. One by one, Ethan's investors withdrew. Banks stopped taking his calls. Contracts slipped through his fingers like sand. He raged at everyone, lawyers, partners, even Olivia. But deep down, he knew the truth. This wasn't coincidence. This was war, and Lucas was winning. Olivia watched in terror. Her glamorous world was crumbling, and she could do nothing to stop it at night. When Ethan stumbled home drunk, she sat awake, haunted by memories. The warmth of Lucas's smile, the safety in his arms, the love she had destroyed. Now, all she had left was regret. One evening, after another brutal fight with Ethan, Olivia broke. She grabbed her coat, her hands trembling, and went to Lucas's office. The guards recognized her instantly. They hesitated, but she begged, "Please, just one chance to see him." When Lucas finally appeared, he didn't look surprised. Simply said, "Why are you here?" Her voice cracked. "'Cause I can't. I can't keep living like this." Lucas didn't move, didn't blink, didn't soften. "You made your choice, Olivia. And I made mine." Tears streamed down her face. "I was wrong. I thought I wanted a life of wealth and power, but none of it means anything without you." Lucas's jaw tightened, and you thought of this. After destroying me, after laughing at me with him, her knees buckled. She fell before him, whispering through sobs, "I don't care about pride anymore. I just want you back." For a moment, silence hung between them. The world outside carried on. But in that office, time froze. Finally, Lucas spoke, his voice like steel. "No, Olivia. You want the man I've become, not the man you broke. And that man doesn't belong to you anymore." He turned and walked away, leaving her on the floor, shattered. The next day, news broke. Ethan's company had officially collapsed. Headlines splashed across every screen. Rising star Lucas Black overtakes former mogul Ethan Gray. The city cheered. Shareholders rushed to Lucas's side, and Ethan disappeared into disgrace. But Olivia's fall was even more brutal. The party stopped inviting her. The whispers grew louder. The same friends who once envied her now pitied her. She was no longer a queen. She was a ghost. Ashley, on the other hand, had become Lucas's anchor. She stood beside him through every storm, grounding him when his anger threatened to consume him. One evening, as they walked home from yet another victory celebration, Ashley teased softly, "So, Mr. Black, have you finally proven your point?" Smiled faintly. The point was never to prove anything to them. She tilted her head. "Then what was it for?" Lucas's eyes softened. "For me to remind myself I was never worthless, to finally let go." Ashley's heart skipped. For the first time, his words weren't laced with revenge. They were laced with peace. But fate wasn't done yet. Because that same night, Olivia appeared at his door one last time, her eyes hollow, her voice trembling. "Lucas, Ethan is gone. I have nothing. No one. Please, don't leave me alone." Lucas looked at her for a long time, saw the woman who once mocked his dreams, the woman who shattered his heart, and now the woman begging at his feet. Lucas inhaled slowly, then spoke. "You're right, Olivia. You do have nothing. Because you lost me forever." He closed the door, and this time it stayed closed. The storm had passed, but silence. Silence can be louder than thunder. For weeks, Olivia vanished from the city's spotlight. Rumors swirled. Some said she fled abroad. Others whispered she was living alone in a small apartment, stripped of the luxury she once flaunted. Lucas never asked. He never searched. For him, her story had ended. Instead, he poured his focus into Ashley. She wasn't just his partner in business now. She was the one steady light he didn't realize he had needed all along. When he faltered, she reminded him of his worth. When anger threatened to rise again, her calm voice anchored him. She didn't worship his victories. She celebrated his peace. And for the first time, Lucas began to feel whole. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony of his penthouse, overlooking the city he had once dreamed of conquering, Ashley leaned closer. Her voice was soft, but steady. "Do you ever regret it?" Lucas glanced at her. "Regret what?" "The revenge. The fight. Everything you went through just to prove them wrong?" He took a deep breath. The city lights shimmered below, like stars scattered at his feet. "Sometimes," he admitted, "because revenge doesn't heal you. It just empties you until there's nothing left but silence." Ashley nodded gently, and now Lucas turned, his eyes meeting hers. "Now, I want something real, something worth more than revenge." Her cheeks warmed, but she didn't look away. The moment lingered, quiet, heavy, but it was the kind of silence that felt safe. And in that silence, Lucas realized he had finally let go. Meanwhile, far from the glittering skyline, Olivia's reality was stark. Her reflection no longer sparkled with diamonds. Her phone no longer buzzed with invitations. Her so-called friends had all vanished. She lived in the shell of an apartment, curtains drawn, wine bottles scattered. Each night, she replayed her choices, her betrayal, her fall. But the cruelest punishment wasn't her loneliness. It was the knowledge that Lucas had thrived. Without her, months passed. Lucas and Ashley's bond deepened. Their company grew stronger. But more than that, their laughter filled the spaces revenge had once haunted. Ashley often teased him. The man who once wanted to own the world now just wants coffee and quiet. Lucas smirked. Maybe that's all I ever needed. But destiny has a way of circling back. One afternoon, at a charity gala, Lucas spotted a familiar figure at the edge of the hall. A woman in a faded dress, hair unkempt, eyes hollow, Olivia. She froze when their eyes met. The room seemed to stop breathing. Slowly, she walked toward him. Every step heavy with shame. Her voice cracked, barely a whisper. I wanted to thank you, he frowned. Thank me? She nodded, tears glistening. Because losing you, losing everything, was the only way I learned who I really am. Lucas didn't reply. Ashley stepped closer, her hand brushing his. And Olivia's eyes fell to that simple, quiet gesture. A truth hit her harder than any fall from wealth ever could. She hadn't just lost Lucas. She had lost the life she never deserved. Olivia turned away before her tears could drown her. This time she didn't beg, didn't plead. She simply walked into the crowd, swallowed by shadows, and for Lucas, it was closure. Later, that night, standing on the balcony with Ashley again, Lucas whispered something he never thought he would. I forgive her. Ashley tilted her head. After everything, Lucas exhaled, his chest lighter than it had been in years. Yes, because forgiveness isn't for her. It's for me, and for us. Ashley smiled softly, and for the first time Lucas felt free. Because of revenge, not because of power, but because of love. As Ashley leaned her head on his shoulder, Lucas whispered words that sealed his journey. The man I was is gone. The man I am begins now. Time is a strange thing. It doesn't ask for permission. It just moves forward. Seasons changed. The city shifted. And Lucas finally learned how to live without the weight of his past. With Ashley beside him, mornings no longer felt heavy. He didn't wake up haunted by betrayal. Instead, he woke up to coffee, to quiet laughter, to plans that didn't involve war. Their company thrived, but Lucas no longer measured life in profits. He measured it in peace. And in the way Ashley's hand always seemed to find his, even. In crowded rooms, one evening, they visited Lucas's old neighborhood, the place where it had all begun. The cracked sidewalks, the flickering street lamps, the small house where he had once dreamed of escaping poverty. Standing there, Ashley whispered, "This is where you started?" Lucas nodded slowly. "Yeah, this is where the boy who wanted to conquer the world was born." Ashley smiled faintly. And now, Lucas exhaled, his eyes drifting to the horizon. Now, the man just wants to build one worth living in. The quiet truth of that moment echoed louder than any victory speech ever could. Meanwhile, whispers of Olivia's downfall faded from the city's memory. She had become a ghostie, another forgotten name, a warning woven into gossip circles. But Lucas didn't ask. Her chapter was closed. His story was no longer tied to hers. Years later, at another gala, Lucas stood at the stage not as a man of revenge, but as a man of vision. He spoke not of profit, but of resilience. Not of power, but of healing. He told the crowd, strength is not in how much you take from others. It's in how much you rise after being broken. And sometimes, it's in how much you forgive. The audience erupted in applause, but Lucas didn't bask in it. His eyes searched for only one face, Ashley's, and when he saw her smiling back at him, he knew this was the only victory that mattered. Later that night, when the city had gone quiet, Lucas sat by the window with Ashley. The moonlight painted silver lines across her hair. He whispered, almost to himself, If someone asked me what I gained after everything, I'd say peace. And you? Ashley's eyes softened.
Dad.
And if someone asked me what I found in you, Lucas turned curious. What would you say? Her lips curved into the kind of smile that carried a lifetime. I'd say, I found home. And in that instant, the story of Lucas wasn't about betrayal anymore. It wasn't about revenge. It wasn't even about success. It was about a man who lost everything, only to realize that what he built afterward was worth far more than what he had lost. The city kept moving. New scandals, new faces, new betrayals. But for Lucas and Ashley, none of that mattered, because they had something untouchable. Something no rumor, no loss, no past could ever take. And as he closed his eyes that night, Lucas whispered one final truth. The greatest revenge is not destroying your enemies. It's living so well they can't touch your peace.